Hello, welcome back to Tuesday. Today we're going to be going over the answers to Monday's assignment of Minecraft math counts and volcanoes. So a lot of these questions were very similar to the ones that were given on Friday, so hopefully you understood them a little bit better than you did before. So let's get started. It says here, what number is halfway between 5 nines and 8 nines? Well, we'll use the same two methods that we tried yesterday. And so yesterday I said that, well, if you take the number 5 and the number 8, the halfway point in between there would be 6.5. Okay, that's supposed to be 6.5. Okay, well, we could actually go ahead and just write 6.5 over 9 because halfway between 5 and 8 is 6.5. But you can't have a fraction within a fraction, at least within this context. So in order to get rid of that, let's multiply by 1, or in this case, we'll multiply by 2 over 2, which is the same thing as multiplying by 1. If you multiply 6.5 by 2, you get 13. And if you multiply 9 by 2, you get 18, which gives us 13/18. Okay. There's another way that we could do this as well. Like I said yesterday, basically it's just finding the average of these two numbers. I'm going to erase all this really quickly. And whenever you find the average, you add the numbers together and divide by how many data points there are. In this case, we have just 2. So we have 5 nines plus 8 nines. Since our denominators are the same, we add the numerators, which gives us 13 nines. Okay, so what we need to do now is divide this by 2. Okay, so we do that whenever we divide by 2, which is the same thing as 2 over 1. Remember, whenever you divide by something, it's the same thing as multiplying by that number's reciprocal. So we can actually take 13 ninths and multiply it by 1/2. Same thing. And that gives us, multiplying straight across, we get 13 over 18, which is our answer of halfway between 5 ninths and 8 ninths. All right, moving on to the next one. Billy has 8 ribbons. There's a couple ways you can do this one. I'll show you the couple of solution strategies I would recommend. Billy has 8 ribbons. Each of them are 3 feet 6 inches long. How long are all the ribbons combined in feet? Okay, well, let's take a look at this. This is kind of the way I gravitate towards the first method. If I have 2 ribbons, if I have one that's 3.5 feet long because 6 inches is half a foot, and I have another ribbon that's 3.5 inches long, right? Or sorry, 3.5 feet long because this is 3 feet 6 inches, and I'm just assuming that we can make that conversion from 3 feet 6 inches to 3.5 feet. Well, if I have 3.5 feet and 3.5 feet, that gives me 7. Now, what I need to figure out is how many 7s do I have? So this kind of makes a pair of ribbons. So you could look to see how many pairs of ribbons do I have? Well, if you have 8 ribbons, that would be 4 pairs. So I would multiply this number by 4, which would give me 28 feet. Okay, that would be one method. Let's take a look at another one here. This is more of a kind of a brute force method that would work with any kind of number that they would be able to give you for something like this. Okay, we're going to take 3 feet 6 inches and we're going to convert that to inches total. Now, 3 feet is equal to 36 inches. Okay, now it's 3 feet 6 inches, so I'm going to add 6 more to 36, and that gives me 42 inches per ribbon. So what we would need to do then is take 42, and since I have 8 ribbons, I'm going to multiply 42 times 8, which gives me a product of 300 36. Go back and give me some space here. Okay, so we have the product of 336. Now to convert that back into feet and inches, I'm going to take 336 and I'm going to divide that by 12 because that's how many inches there are in a foot. Now 12 goes into 33 twice, and that gives me 24. I'm doing this algorithmically. Fourth graders, pay attention. You haven't done this as much. Now that gives me a difference of 9. I bring down my next number, which is a 6, and I know that 12 goes into 96 exactly 8 times because 8 times 12 is 96. All right, so once again, that gives me the answer of 28 feet. All right, and I'm sure there are lots of other methods, but for now, that will get us there. Erase this a bit, and we'll move on to the next one. This one looks a lot like one that we had from Friday. So let's take a look at what is the product of the least common multiple of, the least common multiple and greatest common factor of 15 and 25. So let's take a look at 15 and 25. Okay, the LCM, or the least common multiple, is the smallest number that both of them can go into evenly. So you could sit here and do count bys until you find one that matches. Okay, I'm going to count by 15s. I'm going to stop there because I know that 25 times 2 is 50, but 25 times 3 is 75. That is my least common multiple. So that gives me my first number. Write that over here, 75. Now let's look for the greatest common factor. What is the biggest number that goes into both 15 and 25? Well, I wrote 72. It should have been 75. Sorry. Usually you guys would catch me on that mistake by now. Now, the biggest number that goes into 15 and 25 is 5, which means that we are going to multiply 75 times 5. So the product of 75 and 5 is 375. All right, moving on. I actually made this in Minecraft because I was thinking a lot about area and perimeter and volume and geology, and I think we can base a few of our questions and lessons around the math and geology of Minecraft. And I actually made one that was this first one here was 2x2. This one was 4x4. This one was 8x8, and then this one was 16x16. All right. Moving down to the question, it says, second page. All right. Starting on the left, the first square is 2x2, then it doubles to 4x4, then it doubles to 8x8, then it doubles to 16x16. Fill in the last column of the table below. Now, the math on this is not that tricky. We find the area of a square or a rectangle by multiplying the length times the width. All right, so if we take 2 times 2, we get 4, and I'm just going to abbreviate YDS. And remember, we always label our answers in area with square units. So the next one, we have 4 times 4, which gives me 16 yards squared. All right, 8 times 8 gives me 64 yards squared. And finally, we have 16 times 16. I forgot to add the multiplication sign there. 16 times 16 is 256 yards. So hopefully you start seeing a pattern of how much it grows by each time. 4 becomes 16, becomes 64, becomes 256. The next question says, notice that each time the side length doubles, did the area also double? Why? Well, no, it more than doubled, right? So it actually quadrupled every time. And the reason is that area grows exponentially. It grows on 2 dimensions, not just 1 dimension. So each time you double the side, but you're going to have to multiply it by the double of the other number, which makes that number get a lot bigger quicker. So in this case, we can see here that the area quadruples. All right, that's an interesting concept that we're going to talk a lot more about with volume as well, about the rate of increase and its exponential growth. Now, this next one was on a really cool video I found on YouTube about igneous rocks. So if you watch the video, you should be able to easily answer these questions. It says, what kind of rock makes up the majority of the Earth? And in this case, it is igneous, meaning rocks that were formed by volcanoes. Next, what is lava called before it reaches the surface? It is magma. All right. Okay. The magma that cools slowly inside the volcano and becomes rock is called what? Granite. All right. What are 2 types of extrusive igneous rocks? Well, pumice and obsidian. Actually, today's assignment, the breakout, is on obsidian, which is a really cool kind of rock. The other one is pumice, and pumice is actually really cool too. It's actually used, some people use it for some kind of a scrubbing surface, oftentimes for their feet. But I've climbed Mount Baker a few times, and whenever you get to the top, there is a lot of pumice. And pumice is really cool because it looks like a regular rock, but you pick it up and it kind of feels like styrofoam. It's really full of holes and bubbles, which makes it feel really light compared to how much you would think it weighs. And then finally, what are 2 types of intrusive igneous? And I actually had to go down to the next page here, and that would be granite and diorite. And those, again, those are 2 rocks that are found in Minecraft that I thought was pretty interesting to incorporate Minecraft with. So I hope everybody's doing well. We have a special assignment for today on breakout. So you'll need to read that article that I pasted into the breakout on obsidian, and then take a picture of the final screen in breakout to show me that you did it. Okay, I hope everybody's well, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.